Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's time for a little Overreaction Monday show here on Orange Was Live. I'm flying solo. I'm Jeff Ketchum. There is no Anwar Richardson today. He's flying back, hopefully incredibly safely from the state of Florida. He does not have his wallet. Steve Sarkisian will be talking to the media later on today. So we'll be talking about things that Sark might be asked, what he might say, the big things going on there, plus a lot of conversation about the Texas running game in 2026. I don't know that everybody fully has a grasp of what's changed back there with all of the turnover at that position. But before we do anything else, like, comment, subscribe to the page, do all of those things. Here, we're even do this. We'll see how it looks. See, I just don't like that when we put the chat up on the screen. I'm not quite sure why it doesn't look the way I want it to. Nevertheless, I will talk with Chris Bennett. What's up, guys? I will talk with everybody that jumps into the chat. We'll take some questions. We'll take some super chats. Hit me up if you have anything. The show brought to you by rogueshop.com. The information right there on the screen. Let me see. I'll point to it. It's there, right there. There we go. Rogueshop.com. Use that promo code OrangeWoods. The Texas is home for legal CBD, THC, and so much more. I got to be honest. I need to get a re-up from my guys over at Rogue Shop. Today's the day I could use it. I'm just kind of mad at everybody today. I don't know why. I'm just a little bit mad. So you guys help me get into a better mood. You know what sounds weird? Because I don't have a microphone in front of me. Now it won't sound so weird. Jesus Christ. I really do need Rogue Shop this morning. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a deep breath. We're going to woo-saw it out. We're going to forget that the first minute and a half of me doing the show with the microphone behind my computer monitor ever happened. Everybody's like, your mic might be covered. You should bring your mic closer. No, I should use my microphone is what I should do. I should not have it 5 feet behind a screen. What can I say, man? It's Monday. I'm working out the kinks. All right, we're better. I'm back. Click some thumbs up buttons and stuff. I might not be here later today. Everybody else on vacation. Why shouldn't I just disappear for a little while? I can't do that. Let's talk some Texas football. Again, Steve Sarkisian will be meeting with the media later today. One of the things I don't want to do is do a show where all we do is just talk about what Sarkisian might talk about in an hour and a half. We'll do some reaction to that on the noon show. Certainly. So much to get into. So I don't necessarily want to do that thing where it's like Sark could be asked about this and Sark could be asked about that. We'll talk about it like in an hour and a half. So go over to orangewoods.com, I suppose, at that point for full coverage of Sarkisian and his comments. And we will obviously have them on Orange Woods Live later today. The thing I want to get into today, and I wrote about this in my 10 thoughts from the weekend, and I don't know that it's getting any play. It's weird. You write all weekend. I write 10 columns, and I put it into one article. It's way more work than I should probably ever do. Everybody always talks about clicks and clickbait. I should just separate them and release them as 10 stories, and I would get 10 times the clicks. But no, I put them all into one story. It's the article that just keeps on giving. And I did this running back breakdown, and I really thought there would be a reaction to it, which – given that there's not, maybe I shouldn't be doing a YouTube show on it today. No one's going to read or view. But I think that I think there's been so much talk about Cam Coleman. I think there's been so much talk. You've got Arch. There's so much continued conversation on the offensive line and what either has or hadn't had, right? You just get into these conversations nonstop where it's like, well, can't win a national championship. The offense can't be any better if that left guard spot's not fixed somehow, some way. We don't know what's going to happen with the Lawrence Seymour kid. What if that doesn't fall through? What if there are injuries? There's this destitute attitude for some as it relates to talking about this Texas offense in 2026 because all of the pieces aren't yet All-Americans or not all SEC. And to be fair, we don't even know if that left guard position is as good as it was with Cole Hudson a year ago. You hope if Lawrence Seymour has eligibility, you get the sense if he stays healthy, they'll at least be as good, which is probably good enough if the rest of that offensive line comes together. The thing that I don't know that gets talked about enough, though, is that the running game last year was just trash. It was trash. The blocking wasn't good, but the running backs weren't either. And I think one of the real underrated parts of what Texas was forced to deal with last year on offense, and then consequently, like, it's the thing that, as much as anything, sidetracks the season against Florida. You know, Trey Wisner wasn't terrible against Ohio State, but he wasn't really good either. It was okay. Texas had a backfield of the two-man duo, if you will, because I can't include Jarrett Gibson. I can't really include Christian Clark because of the bowl game. This really was a two-man operation, a little bit of James Simon sprinkled in, but ain't nobody trying to include him with what happened in the running game last year. The focus was on the decision that Texas made when Jaden Blue left. Texas was like, we're not going out and getting anybody. We're good. And C.J. Baxter and Trey Wisner, we trust. Now, to be fair, when the first team All-SEC media team came out last year and Trey Wisner was listed first team, and I looked around at everybody like everybody was taking crazy pills, there weren't a lot of people. I was called a hater. Cash, you just always hating on these Texas guys. They can't get any credit. It's like, he didn't average 5 yards a carry. Like, what standards are we using to talk about these players? So I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if this Texas running game is as good as that. And when it wasn't this past year, there were a lot of people that clutch their pearls and act like they couldn't have seen it coming. It's a different backfield in 2026. It's so different. And one of the things I got to thinking about this weekend was how will Texas use Raleek Brown and Hollywood Smothers? I haven't spent a lot of time watching both of those guys at Arizona State and NC State, respectively. I've seen highlight tapes. I can't say I tried to do this with the kid from Louisville. I watched Isaac Brown in the bowl game. I knew about him, but I didn't really pay attention to these other guys when they were doing their bowl games and late in the season. So how do they fit? How were they used last year? What are their strengths? How might they work together to replace what Trey Wisner and C.J. Baxter offered up a year ago? And I think first and foremost, there's explosive plays and there's making guys miss. And I feel like you could almost take everything out and set it aside. We could talk about receiving skills, and Hollywood Smothers is great in that department. There's like these little idiosyncrasies of their talent. But at the end of the day, what do these guys do that the other guys just don't do, never did? And especially behind an offensive line that really needed some help. I always bring this up when I talk about offensive lines. People will talk about the Dallas Cowboys offensive line in the 1990s to discredit Emmitt Smith. They will talk about these guys. They'll talk about the offensive linemen for the Cowboys as if everybody was Larry Allen, as if everybody arrived from Sonoma State and was an absolute freak, and they just had 5 All-Pros kicking ass. When the reality is, when Emmitt Smith showed up in Dallas in 1990, Mark Tuinei had been a Cowboy for a long time, and nobody thought he was anything other than a Jag. That dude had played on both sides of the ball in the NFL. They tried him at defensive tackle because he wasn't that good at offensive tackle. Mark Stepnowski was just a second-year center. Nobody really thought anything of him. Nobody even knew whether or not that guy could play in the NFL. Nate Newton was a USFL retread who had played with Washington and was like in year 9 by the time Emmitt showed up. Kevin Gogan, remember that bum? I shouldn't say bum. He was kind of a bum before Emmitt showed up and then was pretty good, then went to the Raiders and then wasn't good anymore. The point was you add the right running back to the right offensive line and all of those offensive linemen look better. They did not make Emmitt Smith look better. Emmitt Smith showed up in 1990 and suddenly guys that had been journeymen their entire lives turned into All-Pros, turned into Pro Bowlers, turned into the guys that ultimately seemingly got, in the name of Barry Sanders is the best, they got to be the reason why, well, Emmitt can't be better than Barry. He's just got all these amazing offensive linemen. And you go, well, he's got Lomas Brown and some, I don't want to hear it. Nate Newton. I bring this rant up on this Overreaction Monday brought to you by Rogue Shop. Because I do think this offensive line next year can be better because of the players around it. There's no way to get around the fact, if we look at missed tackles a year ago, CJ Baxter all season long forced 6 missed tackles. That's only 6 more than me. Chris Bennett, that's only 6 missed tackles more than you. Michelle out there. Michelle didn't play in a game last year, but she tried. She ate enchiladas, putting it all out there for the team. CJ Baxter had 6 more missed tackles last season than all of us. So not good enough. And I'm not even going to get into like the decision-making that went into that. I've done that on other shows. That's not really the point. Trey Wisner created 32 missed tackles a year ago. When we look at Hollywood Smothers, that number jumps to 49. When we look at Raleigh Brown, that number jumps to 55. You combine what Wisner and Baxter did a year ago, 38. You combine Raleigh Brown and Hollywood Smothers, you're at 104. The best thing that a bad offensive line can have going for them in a run game is when they block like shit, sometimes the running back just renders that useless. Oh, there's a guy in the backfield to make it. Oh, but he didn't make the tackle because Raleigh Brown is off to the secondary. Like, it helps to have some of that. It helps to have guys that will make you miss. It helps to have guys that create explosives. So not everything is a trudge. Not everything is so hard. You know what the Texas running game was last year? One of those relationships where, like, everybody's trying. You're going to therapy. You're talking. You know, you're looking out for the other person. Nothing's just fun. It's still hard. You're trying everything. It's like, why don't I like that motherfucker still? Because it's hard. Life can be hard. The Texas running game was hard. Do you know what fast guys make the running game easier? More fun. Do you know what guys that make guys miss do for the running game? Elevate it. Make it so that you got some get out of jail cards when your offensive line can't block nobody. Consider last year the number of 10-yard runs by each running back. CJ Baxter. No, not 1. No, not 2. He wasn't that bad. I had 2, not 3. CJ Baxter had 4 runs last season of 10 or more yards. 4! The stuff that the dudes yell at Tiger Woods when he's at the Masters. Or anybody, for that matter. You'd hear it in Caddyshack, too. Trey Wisner had 13. The combination of Raleigh Brown and Hollywood Smothers, 55. So more than 3 times as many as Wisner and Baxter combined. It matters. It matters. When we look at breakaway percentage of runs, I saw this number on PFF. I don't even completely know what it means. It doesn't matter. The numbers are big. CJ Baxter's breakaway percentage, 9.3. Trey Wisner's 27.1. Raleigh Brown, 45.8. Hollywood Smothers, 52.3. Do you get what I'm putting you? You're knocking down what the pins that I'm putting up. The talent, the ability, the explosiveness, everything about the Texas running game will be better behind the quarterback in the backfield than it was a year ago. And I don't know that we've not spent nearly enough time. Trust me, I'm on Orange Bloods every day. There was not a conversation that I can remember this weekend where people like, yo, man, the running game looks good. Have we really stopped to consider what we've done in adding Raleigh Brown and Hollywood Smothers? I don't know. Eshron says Trey Wisner is a straight line runner. He wasn't going to make anyone miss. Well, he was a hell of a lot more missable than CJ Baxter. You know, Wisner, I think Wisner's an NFL player. I think he's going to play in the NFL. That doesn't mean I think he's going to be a starter in the NFL. That means I think he will make an NFL roster at some point. He'll play in some games. He's versatile. And I think if there's an area where Texas will miss Wisner the most, full transparency, Raleigh Brown and Hollywood Smothers kind of suck in pass protection. So that is one thing. Look, Hollywood Smothers, easily the best receiver out of all the guys that we're talking about. Okay? They can make guys miss. They can break long runs. It is impossible not to notice that when you look at the pass blocking grades, that is not what Raleigh Brown and Hollywood Smothers do, but Trey Wisner does that really well. He's a good all-around back. You know, when Walt Garrison with the Cowboys many so many years ago, I wasn't even born yet, said, you know, if you need 3 yards on 3rd and 3, I'll get you 3 yards. And if you need 3 or 10 yards on 3rd and 3, I'll get you 3 yards. Trey Wisner's got a little bit of that. It's not that he's not effective. It's not that he's not a good player. Again, it's not that he won't play in the NFL, but I don't know that his skill set fit into what Texas needed at the running back position last year, because they did need guys. Sandman said Ketchum averaged 6.2. NPC, I don't know what does NPC stand for, whenever there was a plate of enchiladas waiting for him. Sandman, you overestimate the zeal with which Michelle and I attacked the enchiladas last year, if I'm being completely honest. That was a labor of love. I went to one place that I think had pretty good enchiladas. Every other place was like, I should have got fajitas. So no, I did not average 6.2. I'm trying to figure out what NPC stands for. Is the N the N's not next to the Y? So is that a typo? Does the N stand for something that I'm not going to like once you let me know what it stands for? I don't know. Now, Michelle is right. The thing that Wisner was more than anything else, he was an Aggie and an OU killer. And they could never take that away from him. He was essentially maybe not the Peter Gardere of games against those teams, because he's not undefeated against Oklahoma, but he's kind of the Peter. In fact, I would go so far, Michelle, as to say he's even like Peter Gardere. The thing about Peter Gardere, and I love Peter, by the way, if you've never seen Peter hit a golf ball with a driver, that man can crush it. At least he could like a decade and a half ago. I don't know how Peter still swings it, but that dude you could put on your foursome and let him take off from the tee, and he'd get you some yardage. I promise. Peter's whole deal is that he was 4-0 against the Sooners. That's not the same thing as like, oh, he was as good as Trey Wisner was against us. Like Trey Wisner did it. Oh, he came up big. Like all you have to do is say his name, and Aggie fans and OU fans will get into a little PTSD. If you say to Peter Gardere's name to an OU fan, they'll begrudgingly be like, oh, that dude. We can't even explain how that happened. It really is unexplainable, inexplicable, if you will, that Peter went 4-0. I think all 4 of those games, Oklahoma was the favorite. And it wasn't like Peter was throwing for 4 touchdowns a game. He just, to the victor go the spoils. And Peter Gardere got the spoils of going 4-0 against Texas or OU. And to be fair, he was the quarterback of the 1990 team, which for a lot of my life is one of the more notable teams in the history of Texas football. Sandman says NPC was autocorrect. Fair enough. I was trying to figure out what does NPC stand for? Is that like, I thought it was like a food joke because it was an enchiladas comment. So I was like, what stands for N? Nom 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 noms per carry? I don't know. Like I said, I was a little worried that I was setting myself up to be made. I like this. Hold on. I've just been distracted in the chat by Sandman saying, Wisner ain't running by anybody. Wisner ain't running over anybody. Wisner ain't hurdling anybody. God, Sandman, stop it. Look, Wisner's going to be good this year. I think he's going to have a good year. But this offensive line is still a question mark. It does need guys that can make plays on their own. It does need guys that can make guys in the backfield miss if guys are going to be in the backfield. It does need guys that can make bigger explosive plays. Check, 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 checkity check. So it's a Monday. Everybody's feeling. I started the damn show without my microphone, right? So we all. It's going to be one of those days. But no matter what happens today, just know, if you're a Texas fan, the running game is better. Why? Because they got better running backs. They got more elusive running backs. They got more explosive running backs. They got more versatile running backs. By the way, if you're wondering how these two guys might be used, it seems pretty easy to me to think that Raleek Brown, I got to get over the Raleek. He's not been tortured by Ramsay in Game of Thrones. It's Raleek Brown, not Raleek. Or is it Raleek? Now I've said it so many times wrong, I can't remember which is right. Raleek. I think that's right. And Hollywood Smothers. Smothers is the pass catcher. He's easily the ace up the sleeve with regards to usage in the passing game. I don't know that Brown is significantly better than Wisner. It was kind of a push last year. You look at their routes per run. You look at their PFF receiving grades. It's all pretty similar. Again, Trey Wisner is no scrub, and in the passing game, which he was a receiver as a senior in high school, Brown's a little bit there, but Smothers is way off the charts as a receiver. Everything's a little bit better. So I think you're going to see Brown get the majority of the carries. I think you're going to see Smothers get the majority of the passing game work. Both can do both. Where Derek Cooper fits into this will be fascinating, because there is a world out there where if Derek Cooper is the guy that Texas thinks he is, that maybe Cooper's really your 1-2 run game punch with Brown, and Smothers is playing a lot. He's seen maybe 35, 40% of the downs, but it's passing downs. It's when the team is, I don't know, trying to not tip its hand a little bit too much. You don't want to do that thing where Raleek Brown's just in the game on run plays and Smothers is in. And, they won't do that. But you just got to think that Smothers' ability as a receiver is so refined, so good. It's such a strength that the coaches will be unable to make sure that he's on the field in those situations. How Derek Cooper fits into all this will be fascinating. That is a running back position that's making millions this year. That really wasn't the case a year ago. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking in the chat. Napkins per cut. See the thievery? That's not nice. I do use a lot of napkins. There's a new Pluckers in the Woodlands area. Yay. And so I went to go get some wings, and I was trying to explain to somebody, maybe even the waitress, I'm the worst person to ever get wings anywhere. I do not like messy hands. So after every bite of a chicken wing, if the wings have a sauce on them and I'm using my hands, I have to wipe my hands. I cannot eat, have sauce on my wings, and then just leave them wet to go to the next wing. I can't just be every single bite is followed by a hands cleaning. And then I go back to the food, and then I get my hands messy again, and then I clean my hands. So napkins per cut may be a good stat for me, because I'll go through half a roll of napkins and paper towels at Pluckers. I am a napkin. Oh, man. You ever see one of those cars on the road and it just feels like their entire exhaust system is broke, and you think to yourself, Jesus, man, that guy's going to destroy the ozone all by himself. Like you ever see one of these cars that puts so much pollution into the air? You kind of hope someone just pushes that car off a cliff at some point so it can't do any more damage. That's how I am with napkins. I recycle all year long. I'm trying to positive energy. I'm trying to be a good human being and not steal. And what am I doing? I go to Pluckers. I go to a wing place. I use half a roll of napkins, and I've just defeated everything that I've worked all year long to help save. I go to Pluckers and half a roll of paper towels later, what have I done? I'm not going, wow, I'm just, by the way, the Thievery says Gardner owned OU who were bad. Bad as in like they were bad mothers, yes. Bad as in like as bad as Texas was during that time, not so much. Sailor Joe for $9.99. Thank you for the super chat, Sailor Joe. See, I see you. Thank you. Going back to last week, I agree. Brown and Smothers should combine for 2,000 plus yards. How they get there, don't care. That's on the wide receiver room and the quarterback. At this point, I don't think the O-line even matters. Now, let's not go that far. But, we want to talk about the offensive line. If we take the left guard thing and just set it aside for a moment, okay? And let's set aside the fact that Trevor Goosby's dealing with a shoulder thing, and that's a bit concerning. I just don't like it when linemen get hurt. I just don't. So I know it's not supposed to be a big deal, but it gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit. You're talking about a guy that, I'm still reeling from my Tommy Brockermeyer ranking when that dude was just hurt the whole time. And what the hell? People are like, Ketchum never make mistakes. Tommy Brockermeyer, I admit him all the time. But Trevor Goosby, if he's healthy, he'll be better than he was a year ago. He should be. He's going to be a top 10 NFL pick. A healthy Trevor Goosby with another year, I think gets drafted higher than Kelvin Banks. I think Connor Robertson at center wasn't even a starter or even really thought to be playable at this point last year. So that he's back, he's a fifth-year senior. We think he's better than playable now. He's actually turned into a guy that Texas was really glad to get back. So it's a wash at worst. I think, look, I don't want to be a hater. I just don't think DJ Campbell ever was very good. And I rated him as a 5-star. But Brandon Baker was the team's second best offensive lineman last year. He moves from tackle to guard. There's no reason why Brandon Baker shouldn't be an upgrade over DJ Campbell. I mean, DJ Campbell just didn't leave a high enough of a marker. He was okay. He had his best year last year, but his best year, I don't know if that's going to get him drafted. Probably, but late. He's a slightly above replacement level player, and that's as good as it ever got. And if he didn't have a 5-star ranking coming out of high school, I don't think we would talk about DJ Campbell in the capacity that we do. I think that ranking did a lot of work for him over the years. So I think that position can be improved. And look, Melvin Siani should be better than the first-year starter version of Brandon Baker. So Sailor Joe's like, I don't think the O-line matters. Well, if it's better, it matters. Yes, it matters. It mattered last year. Just because they got better talent, that's good. That's good. Just because there's better talent at running back doesn't mean that the offensive line doesn't matter. It just means if these guys had to play behind those guys a year ago, they would have done better. I don't know what's going to happen at left guard. When you hear things like, oh, well, Seymour will probably win his case in court if it goes that far, what the hell am I supposed to say to that? How am I supposed to react? For those that don't know what Seymour's situation was, he transferred outside of the transfer portal window. It was supposed to cost him a year of eligibility. He didn't play in 2023. Now, at the end of it, now that he's played for it, he's had a redshirt season, he's played, he sat that year out. Now they're trying to say, look, you can't really take a year of eligibility from him because he did this. And I'm fascinated to see how this goes because I remember the kid a year ago who I think transferred to Miami, who transferred the day after the portal closed, and the NCAA was like, you can't do that. And he was like, I'm going to do it anyway, or I'm going to take you to court. And the NCAA said, okay, fair enough. You're eligible. These portal rules are guidelines suggested more than and recommended more than anything else. So maybe there's a case there. I don't know, man. Every time I see one of these things come in front of the NCAA, what the hell am I supposed to think about it, right? We know that NCAA doesn't win in court very often. Beyond that, I don't know. So we'll see. But I'm not totally worried about it. If everybody else is good and you can find somebody to be serviceable at left guard, don't have any injuries. That's kind of where Texas has put itself. But the running backs are better. And as Emmitt Smith with the Dallas Cowboys in 1990 proved, sometimes the only thing that needs to change between a 1989 offensive line and a 1990 offensive line, one that went 1-15 and the other one that went 7-9 and nearly made the playoffs that year. Little guy who ends up being rookie of the year and eventually the NFL's all-time leading rusher. Talent at running back matters. Texas just didn't have enough of it last year. And the offensive line kind of sucked at times. Drunk, stupid, and stupid. There's no way to go through life. Texas volunteered for that a year ago. Fractal Zizzo. Over and under. UT has 3.5 players drafted in the first round of the 2027 draft. 2.5 top 15. I'll go by. My 3.5 would be Arch Manning, Cam Coleman, Trevor Gooseby, Colin Simmons. 2.5, top 15. I'll take the over. Right now, all four of those guys. How you like them apples? That was an easy buy. Easy buy. Had my answer ready to go. There are others that you wonder, can they... hold on. Let me look at the scholarship board. Let me look at this junior class real quick. What is Ryan Wingo going to be? That's a good question. I don't know who Ryan Wingo completely is. He fights the ball, but he's probably like a second-round pick, I think, next year, potentially. I think we're all kind of underrating his production for the season. When it was all said and done, he was second-team All-SEC, and Cam Coleman was not. Brandon Baker is not going to work himself into that kind of range. It's hard to know about these defensive tackles. Those are probably the guys. I'm looking at everybody else that would be draft eligible, and I don't know that I see anybody that Texas really needs to worry about. How good could Melvin Siani be? So I think we got our fingers on the pulse. I don't know what Rasheem Biles is. I don't think he's a first-round draft pick. He's not Anthony Hill, and Anthony Hill's probably not going to go in the first round. Rasheem Biles, kind of a tweener, but I tell you what, if Rasheem Biles has the kind of season that could sneak him into the first round, oh my God, Texas definitely did play and possibly win a national championship. Because if he was anywhere close to being that good now, he'd have been in the draft this year. He transferred to Texas to give himself a better platform because the NFL wasn't telling him he should come out. So I can't go so far as to just say that guy's good. So yeah, I think those four guys, and then I think that there's a bunch of guys that look like potential day 2 and day 3 guys to me, and maybe even a lot of day 2 guys. But I don't know that there's a ton of other ones. They may have to live with 4 top 15-ish type guys. And yeah, I know inside linebackers don't go high in the draft. He's not just an inside linebacker, but he doesn't have pass rush real ability. That is the one thing you would say about Anthony Hill is he's a guy that, in theory, we've seen it. You can almost you can use him off the edge. He can almost put a hand on the ground. And even that value, unless he tests incredibly well, probably won't sneak Anthony Hill into the first round. Our guy Biles, who I love, is a little bit of an NFL tweener. And it's not that those guys don't make it in the NFL. It's just that they don't ever get drafted real high. Rodolfo says, will Sark ever come on the show? Probably not. I don't know. There's some ass-kissing shows that just kiss ass. And I'm not judging it, right? Because I get it, man. Kissing ass and being on the hometown team and being a fan, that's really what people want to watch the most. And that's what coaches will come on a show if you'll perform fellatio on them while you're doing the show. I probably would want to ask some tough questions. I'd probably want to ask about Kyle Flood. I'd probably want to ask about, and if I didn't, I'd feel like a total buster. So I can't do it because I can't do a show 5 days a week and talk about all the things that I think Steve Sarkisian should be asked. And then if I got him in person, not asking him any of the things, so he probably wouldn't do a show with me. He could probably do one with Anwar. Anwar would be much nicer than me. Anwar would probably take more chats, involve the guests, the chat more. Not me. I got my questions. And no, I doubt Sark, but I'm okay with that. Sark don't need to come on the show. Look, guys, if y'all want fan stuff, y'all go to the fan channel. If y'all want people who are going to talk about real stuff, y'all come here. Y'all know the deal. After all this time, I don't even need to make it up anymore. There are some shows that people wear where like they're wearing a Texas hat and letting you know I'm a fan first. I mean, my job, I'm a professional first. So I'm a offbeat professional, to be fair. I mean, I curse and I got my Rogue product right here. And I think that's my last one. So I'm going to have to savor this. Rogue Shop. I was thinking Rogue Shop. This is a bit of a dated deal. Go to YouTube. Go to YouTube. Type in Calgon commercial. What you'll see, they'll pull up. The Calgon used to be like a bubble bath. And the woman would get into the bubble bath naked, right? Because that's what you do in a bathtub. But in the 80s, it was pretty risque. This was the closest thing you'd get to like a nipple on the Playboy channel that was scrambled, right? You'd be like, oh, here's the Calgon commercial. She's in the bathtub. And she'd be laying in the tub. And she'd go, Calgon, take me away. Almost like Meg Ryan and When Harry Met Sally. It was almost orgasmic. The Calgon would make her feel in the bathtub. That's how I feel about Rogue Shop. I say Rogue Shop just like that woman says Calgon back in the day. I'm like, Rogue Shop, take me away. Go to rogueshop.com. See what the fuss is about. See why I catch whatever that was. I feel like I'm going to get a Richard, if you're in the chat, I'm sorry about that. But I was thinking about Rogue Shop and it made me think of Calgon. Sometimes when this show is over, I want it to take me away. That's all I'm saying. Hey, the thievery. You know the funny thing about that? Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you the difference between us and other people. When we got Tom Herman on our show during the pandemic on Orange Bloods Live, for those that don't know, in Tom Herman's last year in 2020, Orange Bloods was a thing. Although, did we do Be Live? I'm trying to remember where we even did that. It might have been a Facebook show. I don't know. It was 6 years ago. But it was a pandemic. Tom was bored. Tom and Anwar had a good enough relationship that Anwar was able to ask Tom, you want to do a show? Tom was like, yes. I was not on that show. I was allowed to sneak one question in, which Tom answered and agreed with me. I had spent 3 years. I've been spending a decade up until that moment trying to get Tom Herman or any head coach to. My statement was this: any season for the Texas football program that does not end with a conference championship and or a major, like at the time, BCS level bowl is a disappointment. True or false? And Tom Herman in that interview said true. That's the standard. Now, these other bitches out here will do it. They're all afraid to like, just say it out loud. Like Sark will say we're a playoff program, but if you say was 9-3 or 10-3 a failure, he'll be like, whoa, clutch pearls. You can't use the F word when you talk about my players. They played so hard. You cannot say they failed. It's like, whatever, man. So look, we got Herman on the show. It was our idea. We conceptualized the whole thing. And you know what the bitches at other websites did? They complained. They acted like the Texas SID office was the FCC, and because a candidate appeared on our show, that we now had to have the other candidate show up, except in this instance, the candidate was, they all were like, you gotta let us have Tom now. So one by one, everybody got an interview with Tom Herman. Some of them started their channels to be able to do it. I think one of the people that did it didn't have a channel, and like actually had to call us and ask for advice. How'd you guys do this? What equipment did you use? I will let you know, we have never done that. If another channel gets a guest, I don't email John Bianco. We don't reach out to Texas Sports Information Office. We're not hitting up Chris Del Conte. You know what? Do you know how many times? Do you know that back in the day, I won't say any names, but one person that still works in the Texas media world thought Anwar was breaking too many stories. So you know what he went and did? He complained. He complained to a higher up. And he told that higher up, it's not fair that Anwar is breaking all these stories. He asked the head coach, will you give him, this particular person, some scoop? Because Anwar is getting all the scoop. I'm telling you guys, y'all don't know, man. Y'all let me do shows solo, and I will say the stuff that doesn't get said out loud that needs to be said. Anwar took a break, my overreaction today, while he's in Tampa trying to find his wallet, trying to get home from Florida in an airport without any ID. Good luck with that, Anwar. What I'm trying to tell you is I'm not like that. We're not like that. If another channel does good work and gets a good guest or a good interview, if they get the head coach of the football program, I will not be a sniveling ass bitch and call up and argue and be like, how come we can't get that? Well, we didn't ask. How about that? How about ask? If they say no, and then he goes and does a show someplace, like I hate this market sometimes. I hate media people in general. Not for the reasons that you guys hate media people. I hate them for completely different reasons. But at the end of the day, we'd probably just describe them all as a bunch of bitches anyway. Money B says we need a solo show once a week. I don't disagree, Money B. It is a different thing, isn't it? Oh, I don't know that the market is ready for me to do a solo show because, man, I just don't care as much as everybody else. If you told me tomorrow, well, they'll just take you, whatever, man. Whatever. Ari Wasserman over at On3 and Anwar got into it. Oh, I saw this, and they mentioned it last week when they were talking about Texas being sold. Anwar says he and Ari are cool. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to that. Like, the whole thing was like people were clutching their pearls over Texas and Arizona State canceling their series. It's just like, series are being canceled everywhere. Is that the same reaction? I don't remember that when the Alabama whatever series got canceled like a week or two ago. Like, series are being canceled everywhere. And I don't remember that. Here's what I don't remember. And I don't have anything against Ari Wasserman. If I'm being completely honest, I don't really know who Ari Wasserman is. I mean, I know who he is. I haven't paid 2 seconds attention to Ari Wasserman in my entire life. So believe me, I got no anti-Ari Wasserman like vibes, really. But what I do know is, like, I don't remember seeing sizzle reels come out last year from anybody talking about Indiana's non-conference schedule. Anybody? It didn't matter. Indiana slapped the taste out of everybody they played last year. They got in the playoffs, slapped the taste out of everybody's mouth. They're the rightful national champions. But that non-conference schedule they played was the little sisters of the poor times 4. And I ain't mad at them. And you knew that there would be consequences. Like, if Indiana lost a couple of games and there was a conversation to be had, like they could have been BYU. You lose the only 2 games of significance on your schedule. People are going to look at you and go, maybe you don't deserve it if you're Indiana and you played nobody. But they beat everybody. So it just doesn't matter. There's this different set of rules for different situations, and I just don't have time for it. The media just seizes on this, and it's so intellectually dishonest. Keep that same heat the next time it happens. Someone this week will cancel a series. Call them cowards. When it happens the week after that, call them cowards. And then when the season starts, make sure that you talk about all the schools that didn't cancel series because they schedule so terribly already, there's no series to cancel. It's a hell of a thing to be able to avoid criticism when you don't ever do anything. Anyway, again. Sandman says, who's your worst enemy in Texas sports media? I don't know, man. Different answers at different times. Bobby and I ain't never been right for a number of years. There were some things that just happened in our relationship that, I don't know, man, he may see it completely different than I do. Jerry and I had some beef. I haven't talked to Jerry in 14 years, like in any capacity. That thing went to court and we just ain't talked. He does good work. Bobby does good work. That's the thing, man. I respect everybody professionally. I don't know why I have to like everybody. Why can't I have some personal things that happen? Why do I have to forgive? Why does anybody ever forgive anything they've ever done to me? It's like Ketch don't like anybody. Well, man, shit. I haven't just made stuff up to be mad about. I got history, but I don't have any enemies. I'm 49 years old. I turned 50 in May. I just want to live. I just want to live to be old. And I want to be successful. I want to be able to do this and not have to work my entire life. There's a world out there where one day I stopped working and I never actually worked a day in my life. I just covered sports. And I don't begrudge anybody for doing that. And look, Bobby does good work. Jerry does good work. The guys over at 24/7 do good work. Chip Brown does good work. The guys over at Inside Texas do good work. I don't think any of them like me. And I don't know that I like Eric Nalen, but he does a good job. Most of the stuff that comes against me is either A, political based, B, it's just because Orangeville has been number one for 20 plus years. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people challenge me and say they were going to dethrone Orange Bloods. And, it is what it is. So, I don't know. I don't feel like I have any enemies because I don't really think about these dudes on a daily basis. I feel like I would if I had enemies. Do I get along with anybody? I don't know. And at some point, you can't point the finger at everybody, right? At some point, you got to point the finger at yourself and say, if nobody likes you, maybe the problem isn't nobody. I don't know. I can be a dick. I don't really hide my feelings. I just can't fake it. And what happens is there's so much history with everybody. It might add up to 100 if you took everybody nobody ever leaves. When I was in television, the joke used to be that if you had worked in LA or if you'd worked in San Diego, if you'd worked in any major city, that you would go to Santa Barbara to retire. So you'd go work, local affiliate, Santa Barbara, and you just work in TV there until you died because everybody wanted to retire in Santa Barbara. Austin is like that from a media market standpoint. This is just the city that everybody comes to die. No one ever leaves. Kirk Bowles has been covering the team for almost 40 years, I think. I've been covering the team for 36 years. Fuck, I'm old. Not that long. I started in 94. But yeah, man, I turned 50 this year. Ugh! Bobby's been in the game since the 90s. Jerry's been covering the Longhorns in some capacity since the 90s. I can remember talking to Jerry Hamilton on the phone. One of the practices of the Cotton Bowl when Texas was getting ready to play Mississippi State. And I remember us talking about Chris Sims. So, there's just so much history. In fact, if you just add Kirk, Chip, Jerry, Bobby, just those four guys, that's 100 years of covering Texas athletics and football. There's just a lot of history there, which is interesting. You know who I don't have any beef with at all? Never one time. Kirk Bowles. Never once. In fact, Kirk, at a time when the internet media was being tremendously disrespected. I'm the reason why the online media at the University of Texas gets credentialed. I fought that fight. Nobody else fought that fight. I'm the one that had Mack Brown yelling at him. I'm the one that got Mack Brown to give us credentials that then everybody else was able to get. I'm the one that hired Anwar Richardson that eventually forced them to give us game credentials. I did all that. It's true. But there was a time when we would get treated like we were just social misfits. Like I was in the Epstein report or something. And Kirk was always good to me, man. Kirk, the rest of the media used to do this thing where they'd all stand together when the online media stuff first happened. They would do this with TV guys too. They'd all hang out in a little clique, and then they would whisper, and then you would walk towards them, and then they would giggle, and then they would laugh, and then you'd walk up to John Bianco, and then everybody would act like nothing was happening, clearly making you feel like you were the butt of a joke that was just being told. Kirk never did that. Say what you want to about Kirk, and I know you guys have held that Vince Young Heisman vote against him for a long time. Kirk's good people. I've been in this market for 30 plus years. Kirk Bowles, not one time, has ever said, done anything as it relates to me that's never been anything but gentlemanly. So, on that note, oh, we got a super chat. Barb's 10, this came up earlier this year. So, saying there's no snowball's chance in hell at a super best friends united type show anytime this decade. OB running circles around. Dude, Barb's, here's the thing. I made the invite. I made the invite for a fundraiser. What was the fundraiser? I don't even remember what the fundraiser was. Somebody needed some help. And I was like, hey, in the name of helping, let's all get together and do a show. This was, I think, before the season started. So if it was back in August, I mean, look, I'm willing. If it was for a good cause, if somebody said, look, we think we can raise $25,000 for a battered women's shelter, and you, Bobby, and Eric Nalen have to come on the air and on a show, and just the two of them get to badger me for an hour, I would do it if it meant like a good cause. I don't care. I'm down for help. I'm down for like a good cause. So I wouldn't say never. What I would say is I made that pitch last year, and I don't think Bobby ever responded to it. And I think Eric Nalen was like, we already did something, but I don't know. It was a weird response, but he seemed to indicate like he might do something. Like, I just don't think Eric wanted to be seen as I won't do anything for the charity. So I think he kind of tentatively agreed to it if it ever got off the ground, but Bobby just ignored it and it never did anything. But look, I'm just telling you right now, if ever there was a need, if there was a hurricane that battered the coastline, if anything, man, if I can be of use to do some good, I will fucking swallow some pride and do whatever is asked of me. If it's like, will you on your own just kiss some ass and say some I'm sorry's and like bow down? I don't know. Can I just be 49 years old and just live inside of the mad that's inside of me that's years in history? Like, I don't bother nobody. I don't bother anybody. But if I can be of use, I'm here. Literally, I'll do a show tomorrow if we can justifiably do some good in the world. I'll do a show with anybody. But I don't know that everybody quite feels the same way. But I'm game. The thing is, there probably would just need to be a Sandman. Dude, you want to talk about a lot of history? Mac and I have a lot of history. I don't know, man. I don't think Mac likes me. Like I haven't talked to Mac in a decade. And maybe Mac's come around, but Mac kind of hated me. Like that was real. Mac used to hold meetings. This actually happened once. Mac had a meeting. He opened it up, told everybody in the meeting that, you know what? Allegedly, I wasn't in the room. This allegedly happened per a coach in the meeting. Allegedly, per one of Mac Brown's staffers, Mac held a meeting and said, if anybody ever talks to orangebloods.com, I will fire them. And then the meeting ended, and then Mac talked to one of his coaches and told that coach to call Jason Sucamel of orangebloods.com over some stuff related to recruiting and Dominic Espinosa and Trey Hopkins. That's the life I live, man. That's my life. That happened. I would love for, look, I think Mac is a good dude. I think Mac, dealing with the internet when he was at Texas and didn't know how to deal with it and didn't really understand me, Mac was a little bit scared of me. I'll never forget once he gave me advice. I'd done a Monday morning show with Aaron Hogan because Bucky had been, I don't know, vacation or something like that. But I was kind of like a first alternate on the Bucky and Aaron radio show for a couple of years. So I did a Monday show during the season. And then we were walking back. I was walking back, it's like a Monday. By the way, I'm going to wrap up because we've got this Sarkeesian presser thing coming up here in a second. And I've been going solo for an hour, and that's enough. But Mac was walking down. I think he was with Bianco. He was with Bill Little, I'm sure. Maybe not Bianco, maybe both. He's coming out of the football office, and I'm coming out of the area where the rec center used to be. I'm trying to think. And so I'm coming around the back from where the football facility would be. And we're going to his press conference, but we just crossed paths. So we're just kind of walking in together. We're going to take the elevator together. So Mac made small talk with me. And the small talk was that Mac had heard me on the radio that morning. And so Mac just started giving me advice about what he thought I needed to do on the radio and like what would make me successful. And that was the last time I think Mac and then I got a radio job, and then it just changed. The moment I got on the radio, I didn't ever hear from Mac Brown ever again. And to his credit, I think it's because he thought that anything he would say to me might end up on the show. That's the thing, man. If you're going to come wilding at me, you just need to know I may use that for show material. There ain't never been an incident that I've ever been involved in, good, bad, embarrassing, indifferent, that I just won't turn around at some point and use on the show unless lawyers have told me that I cannot do so. At which point there's only one person in the market that I'm legally, I think that legal thing expired, but I'm taking no chances. All right, guys, that's it. That was the Monday Overreaction Show. I am going to partake in some Rogue Shop because I've been to the website. I've used that promo code OrangeBloods. I've used my Texas is Legal home for CBD, THC, and so much more. Check them out. Let them make your life a little bit better. Anxiety, sleeplessness, all of it, pain, your animals, your parents, sometimes the same things. You can make their lives also a little bit better. Go to rogueshop.com. For everybody who hold on. Did you ever call Bowles out for that VY vote, even tongue-in-cheek? That was a long time ago, I'm sure. I never called him out. He's entitled to his opinion. I didn't agree with it, but I didn't think he should be hooked to the electric chair because of it. And I don't think it's anything that Reggie Bush was pretty freaking crazy good. It's one of the best running backs I've ever seen. That was a unique year where two all-time great teams. Should he have voted for Vince? Yeah. Do I think it should be talked about all these years later? No. Do I think Kirk Bowles should have been ostracized by some for it? I don't. I like Kirk. Kirk's always been good to me. And you know what? I judge people by how they treat me and how they treat other people. Kirk Bowles has always treated other people like a gentleman. That should matter to all of us. Because some of the people that I know y'all cape for out here on these internet streets are fucking assholes. And y'all don't call them out for it. Kirk Bowles is one of the good guys. I will always point it out anytime I'm given an opportunity. Even if he did vote for Reggie Bush over Vince Young. You know what I think matters more than that? I've known him for 30 years, and I've never known him one time to ever be described in any situation other than he's good people. I don't got that going for me. How many of you do? Maybe we should cut Kirk some slack. Maybe we should give him the 30 plus years of just being a nice person. like get out of jail card, because I have seen you guys issue get out of jail cards to people far, 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 far less deserving. You know, I don't have to give examples. You know who I'm talking about. Anyway, for myself, who will be back on these airwaves on YouTube channels momentarily, I got to go watch a press conference, but then I'll be back. See you at noon. Chad Hastings, the Orange Bloods live show. Who knows? Maybe I'll do that one solo too, and we'll just get wild up in here. Hit a thumbs up button or something. I was on for an hour. I earned it.